So you're trying to decide where in Charlottesville that you want to live. And you keep hearing Crozet this, Crozet best schools, Crozet best houses, Crozet mountain views, wine, all that. But then the question comes, can I afford Crozet? And that is what I'm here to talk to you about today. So diving right into it. Cost of living, remember, is going to be dependent on a lot of things going into it. So one of the big things it's going to depend on is obviously family size, household size. If it's just you, that's going to be vastly different than if it is you, a significant other, and 2.5 two-legged babies and 2.3 four-legged babies. Household size is going to be very dependent. Here's the other thing that's going to really matter, and that's going to be whether you are renting or whether you're buying. So those are two big things. But what's involved with cost of living? Everything, you got to remember, cost of living includes your housing, it includes your utilities, it includes your everyday things like groceries, transportation, and healthcare costs. Taxes and all those feed into it as well. So can you afford to live in Crozet? I don't know. Let's find out. So number one, cost number one, hands down, is going to be housing and HOA. Currently, and this is first quarter of 2024, the median home value, according to payscale.com, for Crozet is coming in at $513,579 currently. Now your mileage may vary because again, the past 4 years have been a major roller coaster, and we've seen we've seen housing prices greatly increase, get stagnant immediately, and then begin to start climbing again. So that's why I say your mileage, your housing may vary. That's still a really, really big chunk of change. So when you think about payscale.com showing Crozet housing at 7% over the national average, that does make you question whether or not about the affordability and if you can afford to live in Crozet. On top of that, on top of the home value and the median home prices, with so much growth going on in and around the Crozet area, you also need to make sure that you're including HOA fees. Your median home price is not going to include the HOA fees. If you buy a 1965 bungalow over by Claudius Crozet Park for $300,000, it's probably not going to have an HOA. It's one of the traditional houses, been there forever and a day, probably needs renovation, but has really solid, good bones. But if you're looking at getting into, especially an amenity-rich community, someplace like Old Trail, and if you're wanting a deeper dive into that, go check out my video specifically on new construction in Old Trail, because new construction in Old Trail, because I actually do go much more in depth about that. But if it's an amenity rich and you have a higher HOA, something that's between, I don't know, I would say on average, HOAs are going to be running in the Crozet area about $125 to $175 a month. Again, it's going to depend on how much there is to offer. If you have a very basic HOA with a tot lot and snow clearing, because we don't really get snow, and area maintenance, but not and so you're responsible for your cutting your grass, this, that, and the other. It's probably going to be a much lower HOA, so it can make it much more affordable. But, when I'm searching and the HOA is higher, obviously your amenities are more and they can be more and more inclusive. There are HOAs in that area. I would say the most expensive HOA I've seen is about $225 a month. That's going to be for some place that includes a lot of amenity access, pools, pickleball courts. It's also going to include things such as care and keeping of your lawn. Again, most of these lot sizes are less than 0.15 of an acre, so it's not normally a lot of space, but it does mean that you don't have to buy a lawnmower, you don't have to buy hedge trimmers, you don't have to spend an hour or 2 hours every week, because you have to also include that into your fee. Your time is valuable. So if your lawn maintenance and everything's included, it's going to be higher. Remember, your highest is going to be a condo. So a condo, please remember, is going to be you only own within the 4 walls. So that's why it's the most highest condo association fees, because the condo association is going to make sure that the roof is always in good shape. They're going to make sure the exterior siding's in good shape, and then it just sort of waterfalls out from that. So, number one cost, housing and HOA. Don't forget the HOA. So this again is why you have to reach out to me, because I'm going to be I'm not the be all know all. I fully acknowledge that. But I have grown up here. I do know these communities. I do know these builders. So if you're coming to me and you're like, Pam, I do not want an HOA, or Pam, I don't want to do squat except for live in my beautiful house, I'm going to know where we need to look at and what I need to show you. It's not about me. This is 100% about you, because again, even if it's a $300,000 bungalow down the street from the library, that's still a lot of money. So you need to reach out to me, give me a call, give me a text, shoot me an email, and let's see what is going to be the best fit for you. Okay, getting back, what's up next? Next cost of living in Crozet is going to be putting you on pause. So coming in under cost number 2 when considering moving to Crozet. So for us in Virginia, in the Commonwealth, the fabulous Commonwealth, we don't have a lot of private utility entities. So utilities are coming in at cost number 2. When you look at apples to apples on that 100% being the average, Crozet is going to come in at 100%. Not really above, not really below. Most of your utilities are not going to be shopped for, the ones that really matter. Your electric company is going to be dictated by where you live. You potentially could be working with a cooperative electric company, or you could be working with Dominion, which is a very huge conglomerate. You may have heard about them. Overall, they do a very good service, but again, it's dictated to where you live. It's not like you can shop around for that expense. Next one coming in is going to be water. Same thing. It's going to really be dictated. You can't shop around for it. Crozet, very good chance you could have a well. So in that case, kudos. You don't have a water bill. If you have a well for water, more than likely you would also have a septic tank. Not always, but most of the time if you have a well, you will have a septic tank. But just because you have a septic tank doesn't mean you have a well. More people are hooked up to public water than to public sewer. So either one of those, but if you have a well and a septic tank, you don't have a water bill or a septic bill. And back to that, the water companies again are dictated. Most of them are going to be falling under county or locale regulation, and they're not private. There are a couple of private ones. Again, why you need to reach out to me. But in Crozet, really, there's not. It's all going to be either well water or it's going to be Albemarle County Public Systems, I think, ACP something. It's who I pay my water bill to. I am on public water and public septic, and I live in Albemarle County, just outside the city. Crozet, it's going to be the same service provider. They're actually I think they're very, very good. I think they're very receptive. I think they work on the infrastructure, so you don't see issues like you do in, say, Lake Monticello, where it is more of a private water company. So the big ones are going to be electricity and water. You don't really get to pick and choose those. The things you will get to pick and choose. So one utility would be obviously internet. More and more we're seeing fiber internet systems being put into place. But it depends. If you want the Mac Daddy of internet speed, then you're probably going to be looking at paying $150 to $200 a month, as opposed to if you are composing emails, checking, writing some things that just are not high demand, you could probably get a $30 internet package from your cable or landline phone, CenturyLink. So again, up to you, wide variety. Internet would be cost dependent on what you choose. Here, trash is traditionally a company that you pick. Not always. If you're living in a rural area, many people will dispose of their own trash or burn it. If you are in an HOA, oftentimes it is dictated. So you're paying that HOA fee and it includes trash. Going back to my house, for example, I have a minimal HOA. I think our HOA is $125 this year for 2024. We don't have anything. We have 3 streets off a main street. We have some not public, I wouldn't even call them public. We have several construction retention ponds, and the HOA is responsible for the care and maintenance of those. So really, there's no services. So we're charged $125 a year. So your HOA may cover trash. Actually, some places your HOA may cover internet, but I've only heard of that at Belvedere in Charlottesville. I have not heard of anything in any of the units in Crozet. Again, why you need to reach out to me before you try to figure out where you're going to be going. All right, so utilities, totally dependent on you, even with the gas. If you do natural gas, you get to choose your utility provider. You get to choose your gas provider unless the tank is rented. Most of our propane tanks that are for homes are rented. They are not property of the house. If it's rented, then it has to be serviced by the place you're renting it from. Getting in too deep, something we can discuss if it becomes on a property that you are interested in. But big one, utilities, cost of living. If you like your heat at 74 year round, then your utility bill is going to be vastly different than mine. I love a cool house. Right now, during the winter, on average, our house is about 64 degrees, and at night I turn it down to 60 to 61. And during the summer, I don't do heat. Surprise, surprise, even though I love a good ocean. But during the summer, I leave it on 69. So again, my electric bill is going to be vastly different from yours. It's just going to be dependent. So again, cost number 2, utilities. So coming up next, what's the next biggest expense line on your budget? Probably groceries. And especially in the past year or so, we've actually seen, unfortunately, due to inflation and COVID and blah, 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 we've seen an increase with that. So that is a real concern. Well, guess what? This one's a bonus. On average, cost number three, groceries for Crozet, Virginia, is actually coming in, according to payscale.com, 3% lower than the national average. Now, I think most of the time you're actually not going to be doing most of your shopping in Crozet. You have access. There are two major grocery stores. One's going to be Harris Teeter, which we've seen, in the videos before, talking about different parts of Crozet. So Harris Teeter is going to be a big one. And then the second one is actually in the village of Crozet, and that is the Crozet Market. That is a great value. And what are those? I mean, it's because Harris Teeter is going to be a national brand, but Great Value falls under, like, with Piggly Wiggly and places like that are franchises. That's the word I'm looking for, franchises. So it's a Great Value franchise. So it does have good prices, but it's just going to be very different. But you've got both. You've got Harris Teeter and you've got Great Value. So, and the other thing, I just found out that Great Value store, since COVID, actually offers delivery. And I know Harris Teeter does also, because they've done that forever and a day. But so again, an easy access for your lifestyle. You got to remember, even with groceries, your time is of value. So if you can bam, 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 do your grocery shopping online, and it's going to be little to minimum fee to have it delivered, heck yeah, you've totally eliminated the schlep of having to go pick up, go through the aisles, deal with everything in between. You could have those bad boys show right up on your doorstep. So that needs to be taken into consideration as well. All right, we are moving on. Next on our list for Crozet affordability is coming in as rent. I talked about housing earlier, actually as number one, because it's your biggest bill, but we have to acknowledge, so Crozet has many more homeowners than renters, leaving renters to fight for what is available in that specific area. Now that has been eased recently, because now we're starting to see places like The Summit, which is an apartment complex in Old Trail community. And so again, we're starting to see substantial complexes come online, and that is starting to sort of mediate the rising cost of rent in Crozet. But why this is why you need to reach out to me. I know the wheres and the how muches. And quite honestly, even if you're only going to be in Crozet for 2 years, if your townhouse is the townhouse that you're buying is, unless you really do unless you have really bad choices, realistically, when you sell, even if you break even. Now, of course, we can never guarantee. Do not keep me on the fence for that one. Cannot guarantee the values, cannot guarantee where they're going. They may go through the roof, they may go through the basement. We don't know. But if we're following and looking at trends, and the average for the past several years has been anywhere from as high as 20%, but on average, you're looking at somewhere between 4 and 6, maybe on the high end of 8. You're looking at that with an increase per year in value. Even if you're only living in the house for 2, 3, 4 years, you're probably going to be able to sell and walk away without writing a check. As opposed to rent, I am positive they are not going to give you all your money back when you stop renting, and you'll be lucky to get your security deposit back as well. So keep that into consideration as we're moving on to number 7. Crozet is a little bit removed. More than likely, you're not working in Crozet. You may be working from home and telecommuting, but you're probably not. I mean, some of you may be working in Crozet, but most of the time you're not. You're going to be commuting into Charlottesville. potentially over into Waynesboro, but more than likely into Charlottesville, into the university, into, I don't know, Centera, into the tech areas. Very few of my folks that are at Rivanna Station, I have helped a couple who have chosen Crozet when they were stationed at Rivanna Station, when they were PCS there, but most do not go that far out. Going from Crozet to Rivanna Station, you're looking at 30 to 45 minutes, just because there's no real cut-throughs to do that. You have to go, per se, along a triangle. So there's different ways, but neither one is going to be fast. So that's back to number 5, gas. Gas prices are actually 15% lower than the national average. Now, going back to what I was just saying, you need to add to this, there are smaller providers out in Crozet, so even cheaper as you're getting gas, it's going to be cheaper as you get towards Charlottesville. So your Wawa's, your Kroger gas, your Costco or Sam's Club gas, those are going to be located more centrally in the Charlottesville, Albemarle area. But that actually blows my mind. 15% lower. I do know that this is true because when I did live down in the Tidewater area, that was one thing that always blew my mind, was that gas was more expensive down there than up here. And when I would go between the two, because obviously my folks lived here, it would actually be significant to the amount. I would try to time it so that I had to fill up as soon as I got to Charlottesville, and then I would fill up right before I took off, so I had that a little bit of buffer. So gas prices 15% lower. What's not to love about that bonus, right? Moving on. So in all this discussion about money and about what it costs to live in Crozet, I often do get asked, well, what is going to be a livable salary? This one is pretty blatant, and I really do get asked quite often. Again, it's going to circle back to the very beginning, what I was talking about. If you're renting a Mercedes, and you're, if you're just high end, your cost of living is going to be greatly different than someone who is a first-time home buyer who is making do. How's that? But on general, the livable salary, when I look this up, for a median household, so that everybody in the household, so if your dog's got a TikTok and it's bringing in, 10 grand a month, whatever, this is median household income. Is looking at about $104,330. So $104,330 per year. That's median household. When you're looking at an individual income, you're actually looking at, on average currently, that the livable income for an individual is coming in at $56,431 a year. And you can actually see that here with the livable salary. So Crozet, Virginia, out of 273 cities across the U.S. in terms of cost of living, ranked number 76. So 76 out of 273 cities across the U.S. in terms of cost of living. And that is coming from the Council for Community and Economic Research. The cost of living is estimated to be, now remember, your national average is 100. So the Crozet, it is estimated to be coming in at 102.6% of the national average. So not even 3% over the national numbers, making Crozet an average U.S. city. Remember, there's always going to be a little bit of buffer. And since it's under 3%, it's coming in at what, like 2.5%. It makes Crozet absolutely average. So take that worry away. But again, why you want to reach out to me? Because you don't want to make a costly mistake and then have to move. And you know what? Crozet is not for everybody. Honestly, I am not. If I had to pick somewhere to live other than where I'm currently living, Crozet would probably not fall on my short list. And I don't know why that is. Actually, I do know why it is, but it's not about me. So what I want to do is make sure we find the right place for you. Okay? All right, here we go. So there you have it. Now you know. Crozet has an average cost of living. Good for you? I don't know. But this is why you need to reach out. Give me a call. Shoot me a text. Let's talk about living in Charlottesville and see if Crozet is the right area for you. I would love, if you've gotten anything out of our chat today, I would love a thumbs up. So even though I am here with you chatting, I want to know that I'm talking to somebody. So on that other end of that, if there is some place, something, somewhere you want me to talk about, drop a comment below. I absolutely read my comments. I absolutely respond whenever I can. But I want to bring you information that you find useful. So until next time, make sure that if you're thinking about living in Charlottesville, you reach out to me, and I would love to hear from you and know what it is you want to see. So until next time, talk to you soon.